Welcome to SQL Handbook. My name is Shashain, and in this video, we're going to talk about what is the having clause in SQL. So, what is having clause and what is it used for? The having clause, in most descriptions, you will see it says that it is used for filtering groups in SQL. So, you might be confused by what that means. Like, what does it mean to filter groups or group data? So, to explain that, I have a task over here, which is to find the years that have more than 14 orders made in them. And I've already written up a small query over here, but we'll use this to help you guys understand what the having clause is used for. And before we get into that, I want to show you the data itself. So we are using the orders table that I have made. And look, we have just 3 columns: order ID, customer ID, and order date. You'll notice in the order date, we have obviously orders that have been made in the future, which doesn't really make sense. But for this case, we'll just go with it because it's just for demonstration purposes. So yeah, so we have each row here is just signifying a unique order that was made by a customer. And then that customer's ID is over here. And then the date of that order is over here. Okay, so now what is my task? It is to find the years that have more than 14 orders made in them. Okay, so just to give a bit of a warning, I'm not going to go into detail about the group by or aggregate functions in this video. I've already talked about that stuff in another video. I will link that video in the description below or on the screen over here. So if you guys want more information about that, feel free to check that video out on my YouTube channel. But for now, I'm going to assume you guys are aware of that stuff. We're only here to talk about the having clause. Okay, so in this data, I'm trying to find the years over here that have more than 14 orders made in them. Okay, so you can see the order date column has year, month, and day, right? And time as well, when the order was made. But we're only interested in the year column. So I'm going to use the year function on the order date column just to extract the year value alone. There we go. Right, so now we have 2024, 2030, 2029, and so on and so on. Now, what I'm trying to find out is, find out how many orders were made in each of these years. That's my first task, okay? So essentially, I want to group the data on this year column over here. I want to group up all these rows that are 2024, or group all the ones that are 2030, and each one, each year that we have that is unique. Group them all together, and then count how many orders there are in those years. Okay, so I'm going to use the count star function. This is aggregate function, and I'm going to give it an alias called number of orders. Then I'm going to use the year of order date, as I showed earlier, and I'm going to call that the year of the order, a year of orders. From the orders table, I'm going to group the data by the year order date. Now, if I run this, I get this table over here, where I have the number of orders that we just talked about, which is the count star function. So I counted all the orders for each year, right? So now we can see how many orders were made in each of those years. Now I'm trying to find the years that have more than 14 orders made in them. Right. So now we know to filter rows, or for filtering purposes, we typically think of the where clause, right? So if I go over here and try to use the where clause to filter this, I'll say where count star is greater than 14. Okay. Generally, this is some people would think this is the right answer. Let's try and see if it works. It doesn't work. And that's because we can't use aggregate functions in the where clause like this, right? So that's why it doesn't work. So now, how would I filter this result set for all orders that are greater than 14? This is where the having clause comes in. And you can see over here, I've already gave a small comment to a having clause. So I'll just comment that out. Now, this is what we mean by the having clause is used to filter grouped data, right? Because you can see this result set is already grouped on the year column over here, right? Now we can use having clause to filter this group data. And the reason for why we can use a having clause but not the where clause actually comes down to the logical order of processing, right? And I've talked about the where and having clause against each other in another video where I've compared them. You can check that on my YouTube channel. But it comes down to the logical processing order of a SQL query. So logically, the way a query is written is from where group by having select, and then order by. This is how logically a query is processed. Not written, sorry, it's processed like this, right? In the backend. And we write queries differently, right? We write queries like select, then from, where, group by, having, and then order by. That's how you write them. But that's not how it's processed. It's processed this way. But it's written this way. So why do I bring this up? Why is this important? Well, we know that the grouping, this resulted over here, has happened in the group by clause, right? Which is over here, logically process order, right? This is where it happens, after the from and after the where. So if this is where the grouping happens, why do we expect that we can filter this group results in the where clause? The where clause is logically processed before the group by statement, right? So it actually doesn't make sense that we can use the where clause to filter this result set. It logically doesn't make sense because it's before the group by. But after the group by, we have the having clause. That's why the having clause, we are able to use the aggregate function and say where count star is greater than 14. So if I run this, now it works just fine. That's why we say having clause is used to filter groups, and why where clause is used to filter individual rows, because those individual rows come straight from the from clause, because that's the only thing that's before the where clause, right? I hope that makes sense. Like I said, I have another video that I just talk about the logical auto processing. You can check that out. And another video where I talk about the group by clause as well and aggregate functions, both of which I'll put in the description or in somewhere on the screen. So this is what we use the having clause for. It's to filter group data that is grouped by the group by clause, right? So I hope that makes sense. I hope this gives a bit more clarity on what the having clause is and how it's used. Feel free to follow for more SQL. I'll see you guys in the next video.